The social medias have quickly won over the population of the world. With that comes greater human connection, but also a greater chance of cyberbullying online. This type of bullying is a different breed when it is on social media or video games, because it includes a factor that becomes much more dangerous, the online disinhibition effect. We will discuss what that is and what it implies. For clarification purposes, I will be referring to the social medias as all the social media platforms, including Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat, along with video games. We learn from Angela Carucci, a researcher and theorist who focuses on social media, that these two evoke the same behaviors from its users, given the fact that you create a profile and you can be anonymous online. A big factor in this is playing roles. People perform on different social stages when they have these profiles that they make online, and they can often form idealized versions of themselves. We learn here through these pictures of real-life people with their video game avatars that they'll often make themselves stronger or seem more aggressive, which can be very negative because the change in people's personalities when they move on to this virtual stage can be very detrimental, because they might become more aggressive and more likely to say things they wouldn't say in the real world. So the question we're asking is, despite its benefits in cultural connection and human fostering of connection, should human communication through online mediums such as social media and video games be restricted due to the normalization of cyberbullying? My stance on this is that it should be further regulated, because cyberbullying is a horrible thing. It can do terrible things to a person and their self-confidence, and I think that that issue is greater than the issue of just people talking more. So we have two terms that kind of help us know what the online disinhibition effect is. The first one is disinhibition, which enables people to post comments that they wouldn't normally say in the real world. Comments like when you're driving in a car and you honk at someone and you yell at them, but you have this barrier that is the car, which is disinhibition. The next term is individuation. It is pretty similar. It is when social norms are withdrawn. It's the masking of one's true self. So Ditch the Label, one of the largest anti-bullying organizations in the world, published an annual report where they surveyed young people of different ethnicities and races. 20% of respondents said that they have been cyberbullied themselves, and 23% of respondents said that cyberbullying is just a part of growing up. Now, this is a very sad reality, because social media and video games, we communicate on them so much nowadays. And for people to think that it's a part of growing up to be cyberbullied is not good. So there is another side to this story. We have Jane McGonigal, who advocates to encourage positive behaviors through social media and video games. She says that gaming is where we become the best versions of ourselves. Now, this may be true in a video game where maybe the motive is very good and you want to save the town and be a hero, but this is such a small percentage of video games, and we're also talking about social media here. So for the full picture, overall, the online disinhibition effect and the anonymity that comes with video games and social media causes this to be only occurring in certain cases. So this vast virtual space already exists. It's already out there. This is the way that we communicate. So what can we do now to propose some solutions to kind of help this be lessen the negative effects of cyberbullying? The first solution that I have is restriction, and that's requiring greater approval for messaging to occur. So Instagram has already done this, where you have to accept someone to be able to message you. And while this is helpful, I don't think many people really focus on that too much. They just kind of press accept and go along with it. But I think that what would be helpful is before, maybe after you accept this person, you're about to have a conversation with them, maybe they're a stranger, a little icon pops up that maybe has a little quick statistic about cyberbullying and says, be aware of how you communicate online, and people would go into it with more discernment and more better decision-making skills on how they would handle that conversation. A limitation to this would be that there could be strong opposition from parties like the American Civil Liberties Union, who advocate strongly for First Amendment rights. they believe in a completely uncensored internet. So this might be opposed by them, but I do think that in the grand scheme of things, it's more important that we restrict this cyberbullying instead of maybe having more First Amendment rights. So the second solution that I have is awareness. So if we educate people about what the online disinhibition effect is, and they understand how this affects them and how this affects maybe someone who's bullying them, they can, again, have more discernment. When they're having these conversations, they can know, okay, maybe I should restrict myself, maybe I shouldn't say this because this isn't me, I'm being affected by this benign effect that is so psychological and very subliminal. A limitation to this solution is that some people will either decline or accept this knowledge. They may not accept something about themselves that's so deep and so vulnerable. They might not want to accept that they may be acting differently on social media and portraying themselves inaccurately. But I think that we just want this to be common knowledge and not necessarily forcing it on people, just people knowing that it's there. So the competition between these technological platforms is what has made the social network so big and grow so quickly. Now, it's moving so quickly that it's hard for government regulation to occur. Social media provides a barrier by which people can say things that they wouldn't normally say and express themselves in ways that can encourage negative behavior. We've created this space for anonymity because humans like less conflict, and they may not be, sometimes we're not the most social creatures, and we want this barrier to allow us to say things that we normally wouldn't say. Now, I believe that the best way to overcome this is to educate the victims and bullies to make better decisions. Thank you. Here's my works cited.
Okay. How did your research question evolve as you moved through the research process? Did your research go in a different direction than you originally planned or hypothesized?
So when I was first evaluating all my sources, I looked at the TED Talk from Jane McGonigal, who talked about how video games create an idealized version of yourself in a positive way. And I thought that was very interesting, and I thought, maybe I want to go in this direction. This is more of a positive topic. I'm interested in this. And then when I read the other sources talking about the disinhibition and the individuation that occurs on social media, and I looked at a range of very many sources and topics, I realized that there was a lot more out there on the fact that social media and the anonymity that it has is more negative. So I decided to change my direction and go in the more negative direction that social media causes rather than talking about how it makes you a better person.
Okay, good. What additional questions emerged from your research? Why are these questions important?
Well, one main question that emerged was, what's the future of this? What is going to happen with how we all, because the next generation, we all communicate on social media, we all communicate through video game chats. This is becoming so large, and it's such a big issue because communication is so important in the world. And I'm just thinking, is cyberbullying going to decrease? Is it going to increase with the increase of the amount of communication that we have online? And was there another question attached to that?
No. Why are these questions important?
Well, they're important because communication is so important.
Okay. Very good.